Many of the Walking Dead deleted scenes that I talk about often aren't actually things that were filmed, rather things that were planned but then never came to fruition. And today's deleted scene is going to be one of these. It's something that was actually not filmed, unfortunately. Now, to be honest, a lot of you probably are aware of this particular deleted scene. It's one of the most well-known ones that a lot of fans are annoyed was cut. But just like I did with the Vatos deleted scene, I want to actually go in depth, talk about everything that was going to be included, and the reasons why it was ultimately cut and never actually filmed. So today, we're going to be talking about the Walking Dead Black Hawk Down prequel. Now, I believe from what I've gathered, this particular deleted scene actually isn't a deleted scene. This is an entire deleted episode. I've seen a lot of Reddit posts and people saying that this was meant to just be a teaser at the start of Season 2. But from the way that Sam Witwer explains this particular deleted scene, it makes me think it wasn't just meant to be a scene at all. This was meant to be an entire episode, and most likely it was meant to be the premiere of Season 2. Now, where does the Vatos deleted scene come in, and what lies ahead and the events that happen in that episode, I'm unsure. But let's talk about the context of the scene first. In the Walking Dead pilot, that's right, Rick is cornered underneath a tank, and he decides to opt out, but just before he does, he sees a open hatch of a battle tank and he climbs in. When he's inside the tank though, he comes face to face with a zombified soldier, and Rick blasts this soldier in the face, deafening himself for a few short seconds. Now, if you didn't know, this soldier was played by Sam Witwer. Who is Sam Witwer? Well, Sam Witwer is an actor who has worked with Frank Darabont before. He was in The Mist. And Frank Darabont, of course, famously brought a bunch of actors he worked with in The Mist and a bunch of actors he's just worked with in the past and brought them all as a package deal to AMC. And a lot of these actors were actually taking a severe pay cut just to be able to work with Frank Darabont on this show. Sam Witwer being one of them. Now, Sam's inclusion wasn't just a small cameo, it actually was set up for something that was going to come in Season 2. And Frank Darabont pitched all this to Sam. So I'm just going to let Sam talk about how Frank Darabont pitched this particular scene or / episode.
He's like, look, I think it'd be really cool to tell a prequel story about how Atlanta fell, do Black Hawk Down, but with zombies, and have a few of the main characters pass through, but it's like a Twilight Zone episode, the lead will be you.
Sorry, gonna pause just a few times just to explain a few things. So those characters that Sam mentions that would cross over, just like a Twilight episode, were going to be Dale, Andrea, and Amy. And this particular part was going to show how Dale rescued both Andrea and Amy from the city. So we'd get a little prequel of their story too.
But it's like a Twilight Zone episode, the lead will be you.
Now yes, I have just repeated that part. There's a reason why though. I want to emphasize, this is the reason why I think it wasn't just a teaser. This was meant to be an entire episode. He compares it to a Twilight Zone episode where he would be the lead and other characters would pass through. That is just not an apt explanation of what it is. If it was just a teaser, I think he would have said that. So no, I'm pretty sure this was an episode, and that's the reason why.
And your character will go through, and you're a soldier, and all these horrible things happen, and the chain of command breaks down, and eventually you have to take out your superior officer to save a bunch of people, and then eventually in the end, you get bit.
Again, that's a lot to pack into a teaser. So, yes, this was an entire goddamn episode. Crazy.
And then you're crawling, and he's pitching me this, and then you're crawling, blah, blah, and you crawl into a tank, and you have this grenade, and you're going to blow yourself up, and then you're like, you know what, then you set the grenade next to you, and then you die.
There you go. An intense episode where Sam Witwer would play the protagonist, who ultimately doesn't make it in the end. But it shows how Atlanta fell. But then, there's the twist.
And then, we reprise the scene from the pilot, where Rick crawls in the tank, and there's a zombie there, and if you look closely, I played that zombie because we were setting up this prequel that we were going to do. So if you watch the pilot of Walking Dead, that's me in the tank as the zombie who goes, and Rick blasts him, and then he gets deafened, and then he gets that grenade which saves them at the end of the season. Well, we're going to tell the history of that grenade. We're going to...
Awesome. This would have just been, honestly, so goddamn cool. Sam Witwer is a great actor anyway, but just to see like how Atlanta fell, getting a few hints on how Dale saved Andrea and Amy, and then also just to see his character's intense story would have just made the best premiere for season 2. But something Sam Witwer mentions in this exact same interview is the following, and I haven't really heard many fans talk about this part.
We're going to tell also how another character who is being introduced in the second season, how he comes to a certain thing. We're going to do all this cool stuff.
Interesting. So I don't know if this was meant to be set up in the same episode, but as you heard Sam say there was meant to be a character who's introduced in season 2 who would be set up in some way, either in this episode or in something else. Now, who is this season 2 character? I don't think it was going to be anyone from Herschel's farm. All those characters seem to have been pretty stationary at that one location since the outbreak began, so to me, that makes no sense. It could be Dave and Tony's group, but it's my personal belief that Dave and Tony's group were an invention of Glenn Mazzara. I don't think they were made by Frank Darabont personally. So this leads me to believe that, just like Sam Witwer's character, this was a wholly original character that Frank Darabont was setting up for the second season.
Not doing it now, not happening. Why? Because AMC wanted to save a few bucks.
So right there is the explanation for why this deleted episode was cut. It all comes down to the firing of Frank Darabont. Now, I've talked about this before, but just to kind of give you the Cliff Note version, Frank Darabont was very upset as he had awarded AMC with a hit television show and expected, because the episode count was increasing, that the budget would also increase too. But it was cut by almost 30 to 35%, and it made making the show very challenging for Frank Darabont. Despite arguing with executives, he ended up troopering through and trying to produce the show on the little money he was given. But eventually, he was fired from the show.
I got all these cast members to do this. I got all my friends to pull in favors. I've gotten all these people to do things for nowhere near the money they're worth and nowhere near the money they get paid anywhere else. And the reason I have to show up and do my best, no matter what budget AMC gives me, is because I owe it to everyone that's working for me. And then 3 days later, and by the way, they knew 2 weeks before.
Okay, so we've talked about the why, we've talked about the deleted scene pretty much, or as much as I know about it. Now what? Well, I just want to take this portion of the video just to kind of say that, to be honest, thinking about it, I think this might be the most disappointing deleted scene of them all. Or, I should say, deleted episode. I mean, the Vatos one is cool, but this one just felt like it had so much heart. It was set up so early on. The payoff would have been really cool. And there are similar setups like the web episode Torn Apart, where this character Hannah, who we follow, ends up being the bicycle girl zombie. I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Nicotero was actually inspired by Frank Darabont's idea with Sam Witwer's character here, and that's why he did this web episode. But if the budget was there, we could have seen how the military fell. That is consistently one of the most asked for things by Walking Dead fans. Now, personally, I'm not huge on a military prequel story, but I get the hype and I get the demand. And they could have quenched that thirst if they wanted to, with just one episode. But they didn't. I never like to attack any of the creators of The Walking Dead, but I think it's fair game to attack the executives who made this decision. Don't blame Glenn Mazzara for this, nor Scott Gimple, nor any of the actors. It's greedy executives who wanted money, and I love The Walking Dead with my heart. But Jesus, I could not stand by that. The way they treated Frank Darabont was clearly wrong. I mean, we know he's wrong because he was awarded a shit ton of money. Tell me your thoughts on this deleted episode, and thank you to all channel members. We've got Baddie, Just Jordan, August Fisher, Austin Man, Logan Keeley, Gamer J, Tyler B, Gnostic212, J, Carl Grimes is my man, True Paranormal, YouTube Christ the TV Show, Corey, Papillion, David Mulligan, Ralph Arha, and Aidan Wilson. But please stand to attention to these absolute Walker-slaying legends. We've got Whatever Comes to Mind, Z-Fungi148, Turbo Clash G, Red Lemon Cola, Coda Col, Dog Sauce, Pigoski, Whiskey, All Rising Lord, Seth Vella, James Brooks, Lucas VDH 2001, Lord of the Pebbles, and DB Free. Cheers.
Dozens and dozens of amazing ideas just like that are now gone.
Kenobi!